Yo, and welcome to a new video. I was planning on releasing a video way earlier, but sadly I got another cold. This is like the fourth one since the year started. Apparently, I've forgotten how to exist normally. Getting on to the topic of today's video. Recently, I played a bunch of games that made me realize something. I haven't talked about what to do in order to consistently carry a game outside of lane, as Aurora specifically, but also as any other champion. Now, for me and probably every high elo player, the early game is the most important part of the game, because it dictates how the rest of the game will go. But that's a pretty in-depth topic that I will go into in another video. Today, I have a few situations in my recent games that I will go over, in all of which I had a lead going outside of the laning phase. But let's see if I was able to transition it into a win. Going into the first situation, this game I was facing a Garen and laning went pretty smoothly. Not the biggest stomp, but I'm 2 levels and a fair bit of CS ahead, as well as taking his tower first. Currently, it's 21 minutes into the game and I recently finished 2 of my items. But looking at the game state, it's pretty even, almost everyone has 2 items completed. Ideally though, this is the part of the game when Aurora wants to fight in terms of inventory, especially since she's extremely good at punishing enemy mispositions and finding favorable fights. Now, getting into the situation itself, my team took a pretty bad fight, resulting in us losing tier 2 tower in mid lane. There was no way for me to be a part of that fight, so I pushed out top wave as much as possible and backed off after I saw Syndra coming. In order for me to potentially carry this game, I need to start being proactive right now and looking for situations around the map. Since the primary way Aurora carries outside of lane is by finding and forcing good teamfight angles. As I'm going back, I'm keeping track of the game state. Talon is hovering the top side of the map, and my team is just walking out of base. After I'm done buying items, I will open through mid lane. This is extremely important since it gives me the flexibility to choose where to go, not be stuck on one side of the map. Given that the enemy team just made a play, it's safe to assume they went back to spend their gold. Now is the perfect time to look for something in their jungle. My team is aware of this, so they're acting on it. Neither side lane needs my immediate attention, so my initial intuition that it's a good time to start a fight is correct. I let my team know with a ping that I'm coming and hope that they force a fight. If not, I will look to do it because this is our timer. Looking back at it, I should have spam pinged more because Cho'Gath chose to go for the mid wave, and while it might seem like a reasonable thing to do, we eventually see Talon, meaning that any fight we take right now on the bottom side of the map should inherently be good for us. Reason is, 1, they won't expect me to be here, but 2, they need to face check us so we have the high ground in that aspect. So, if a fight erupts right now, it has to take priority over everything else. If no fight erupts, everyone can go back to their given positions. Honestly, at the time, I thought we're all on the same page. But as you're about to see, we were not. I start the fight by face tanking them and chunking out the Thresh and Kai'Sa. I played it as best as I could, anticipating the Garen flash to finish me off with his ult. But sadly, it wasn't enough. We just lost a fight that should have been a sure victory due to the clues we had on the map. There were a bunch of mistakes made, but the most crucial ones that ruined this fight are the fact that Cho isn't here due to his midwave addiction. And also Silas doesn't nearly play it as optimally as he could have. But I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. The point I'm trying to make is that human error happens all the time. Whether it will be someone else or you, it will happen nonetheless. But even then, that should not dictate whether you learn something from a situation or not. The thing is, if I'm given the same option to engage this same exact fight, I would do it any day of the week. On average, this play, given the prior information I have, should be a winning one. In this case, it just so happens that execution got in its way, so it ended up failing. But a lost situation is not the same as a bad one. League of Legends is a team-oriented game. Sometimes your teammates let you down, and sometimes you let yourself down. But when making the decision, you need to take into consideration your win condition and the information you have at the given time. But at the same time, completely separating your decision from your team, because your team is just a variable. Doesn't matter if you're playing Aurora, Gwen, or Quinn. All 3 of these champions have different strong sides and excel at different ways to win games. So if you're given the ideal situation for your champion, you should 99% of the time go for it, since it's a safe bet that you're doing the correct play. Whether you could end up improving on the execution comes afterwards by you thoroughly going over it. Practice makes perfect, but proper decision making comes first. Going into the second situation, it's a few minutes after the first one, and things are not going too good, since the opponents managed to get a lot of gold due to us failing our previous play. So, if we still want to have a shot at winning this game, we need to contest this dragon, since our comp is still pretty strong as long as we play our cards right in the upcoming fight. Currently, they have full control over the dragon area. We obtained mid-prio, and now our goal is to recover space so we can walk in. That's why I opened with W and tried to walk in. At all times, I'm ready to use my ult to negate CC. I noticed that Kai'Sa's mispositioned, so I engage on her. Sadly, we weren't able to finish her off, but we bait in the Garen. But in the meantime, Sylas got caught. The fight is going not ideal, but not bad either, until this happens. And needless to say, we lost the fight and the game soon after. So why am I showing you this? If we go back to the situation, I was doing really good up until I died to the Syndra stun. Sure, I could have one lane harder as I stated earlier, or probably hit more abilities throughout the game, but that's not why we lost. It's because when situation presented itself for me to potentially carry an important fight, I didn't. But don't get me wrong, all of these are worth improving on. All I'm saying is, sometimes in games there are crucial mistakes that happen, which require extra attention for you to fix. You need to be honest with yourself and actually go over situations and think, could I have changed something in this instance so it doesn't turn out so badly? Let's look at this case for example. Sadly, the game from my recording software expired, so I don't have the exact point of view. But this is approximately how my camera looked like before the disaster. I knew beforehand that Syndra wasn't close when taking the fight, but she actually teleported, which gave her this very good angle for the stun. Wow, teleports exist. It's really easy to lose track of intricacies in the heat of battle. So what I can gather here is that I need to double check the map when I can, but also be ready for potential threats before the fight even starts, knowing that they could teleport, since technically this teleport could have came from any direction. One more thing I can improve on here is my reaction time, but that's also tied with the preparations beforehand. I needed to remind myself that I am an important carry and I need to do whatever it takes to not get caught, even if I end up engaging a fight. Rather, what I should have done is look to reposition after the start and look to re-enter the fight after I have cooldowns again, escaping the potential threat that I talked about earlier. If I did these things, there was nothing stopping me from changing the tide of the battle and potentially turning this defeat into a win, or at the very least, giving us a fighting chance. Before we continue with the last situation, I would highly appreciate it if you subscribe and like the video. It helps me out a lot. Also, feel free to join my Discord, link down below. So for this last situation, I wanted to go over a few important concepts when carrying games. To give you an idea of the game, we were supposedly winning, but Jinx got caught, which opened an opportunity for the enemies to come back. Enemies start Baron and we need to find a way to stop them. I started walking in cautiously and ended up engaging, but the enemies are way too tanky to kill in one iteration. Syndra was playing way too back and honestly they have too much CC for me to even attempt to go on their backline. I stayed around a bit longer to potentially fish for something, but nothing really came out of it initially. This is the first concept. Do not overcommit to a fight that you're not sure if it's a good one. Now, knowing everything is always the goal, but sometimes you won't be sure of an outcome, so deciding to brute force a positive result is not a good choice if the game is extremely volatile. I didn't make an attempt to go in because from my point of view, this fight was unwinnable, so I just accepted nothing can be done and will look for a different fight later on. But sometimes you have to be on the lookout. I noticed that Zed managed to get on the enemy backline, so I stuck around. I was looking to potentially save him, but the enemies were so disorientated that I managed to even get a kill. This is the second concept. Mistakes happen in mere milliseconds sometimes. Be constantly ready to react and punish without putting yourself in unneeded danger. After Tarek died, the play should be over, but the enemies felt like they wanted to continue, so I again decided to stay around. My idea here is that I can potentially bait someone in since I'm pretty strong and I can win a fight that I can get multiple iterations of my abilities in. Now, we're about to see the very last very important concept that not a lot of players recognize when they should be doing it. It's called slow playing. And it means to have the intention to play out the situation, but as slow as possible so you give enough time to your team to catch up and help you out. Trust me, it's more difficult than it sounds, since sometimes the line between playing too slow or too fast is very slim. In this case, I know the enemy's overcommitted, but in order for me to fully find an opening to punish them, I need to create space and wait for the Jinx to catch up to them. And that's exactly what I did. I start with E onto the Yasuo, just gaining space on the enemy team. Then when I know that if they turn on me, I have backup from the Jinx and she'll be able to clean up, I go in, turning an unwinnable fight into a game-winning one. So that was all from the video, but since I'm not sure if I did a good job to convey my ideas, I wanted to do a small summary of the things we discussed today. First, when making a play, if something goes wrong, go over if the decision to go for it was bad or the execution wasn't good. Then, be realistic with yourself. Go over the execution of most of your more important fights. Was there truly nothing you can improve on, even if it's something as little as being more attentive to your surroundings? Your team is a variable that you can't change, but your gameplay is. And lastly, work on these concepts. Don't commit to low success plays. Be on the constant lookout for enemy mistakes and be ready to react to them. And utilize solo playing in cases that it's a good idea too. And that was the end of the video. League of Legends, as team-oriented as it is, there are ways to make it more individual and give you more agency on your games. In order to improve, we always need to focus on that we can actually make a difference on. As always, I hope you enjoyed and I'll see you in the next one.